Yeah.
Dom meant something to my dad. My dad meant something to Dom.
When there's real-time pitch correction happening and the overall delivery of it. I mean, I think you're talking about somebody that came from musical theatre via Disney and is now sort of being lauded as the future of rock.
Imagine getting on stage to pay your respects to a rock god, only to have another legendary band publicly declare your tribute a danger to the entire genre. That's exactly what happened to Yungblud. His passionate performance honoring Ozzy Osbourne was meant to be a celebration, but instead, it detonated a controversy that cut straight to the heart of what rock music is even allowed to be in 2024. This wasn't just a bad review, it was an intervention. From the shadows, The Darkness emerged not with support, but with a brutal takedown, questioning everything from his talent to his very right to stand in that spotlight.
It's all I was trying to do was my best for your old man, because he gave me such a gift.
What followed wasn't just a war of words, it was a battle for the future, exposing a deep generational rift that the rock world is still trying to navigate. The attack came swiftly and from a place few saw coming. The Darkness's frontman, Justin Hawkins, known for his own sky-high vocals and flamboyant persona, didn't just critique Yungblud's VMA's performance, he completely dismantled it. In a detailed online breakdown, Hawkins zeroed in on the vocal production, alleging the use of live pitch correction, and labeled the entire spectacle as, in his words, dangerous for rock music's future. But his critique went deeper than technicalities. He framed Yungblud not just as an artist making questionable choices, but as a symbol of a modern, inauthentic path that threatened to lead the entire genre astray. This was a direct challenge, a public authenticity check issued from one of rock's established figures to its controversial new star. And the question hanging in the air was simple. Would Yungblud take the hit or would he hit back? But this feud was never really just about one performance or a technical debate over autotune. To understand the venom in the critique, you have to see the massive canyon between these two artists' entire identities. On one side, you have The Darkness, a band that built their entire legacy on reviving and worshiping a very specific, flamboyant era of rock history. Their mission statement was clear: huge riffs, operatic vocals, and a celebration of rock's over-the-top 70s and 80s glory days. It's rock as a temple with very specific rules for entry. Then, standing directly across from them, is Yungblud. His entire project is the opposite. He's a chaotic fusion of punk, hip-hop, emo, and glitter, a product of the social media age who champions messy inclusivity and raw emotional confession over technical perfection. Where The Darkness sees sacred tradition, Yungblud sees a rulebook that needs burning. So when Hawkins fired his shots, he wasn't just critiquing a singer, he was rejecting an entire philosophy, a new generation's blueprint for what rock could become. This was a clash of worlds, and the first blow had just been landed. Staying quiet was never an option. Yungblud responded not with a formal statement, but with raw, unfiltered conviction, meeting the confrontation head-on. In a pointed social media clip, he defended his artistic choices and his deep respect for Ozzy, but he quickly pivoted to the real issue. He framed The Darkness's comments as the ultimate example of gatekeeping, that toxic, age-old practice in rock music of deciding who is worthy and who isn't. He turned the accusation of inauthenticity right back on his critics, asking a powerful question: who died and made you the boss of rock and roll? In one move, he shifted the narrative. This was no longer about whether he used a backing track. It was about who gets to control the narrative and who gets to decide when the music stops evolving. This explosive exchange exposed the deepest, most persistent fault line running through rock and roll history. It's the same battle that played out when punks revolted against disco, when grunge wiped the glitter off hair metal, and when every traditionalist has ever scowled at an innovator. The core conflict is brutal in its simplicity. Is rock music a preserved relic, a museum piece with strict rules? Or is it a living, breathing spirit defined by rebellion, even rebellion against its own past? The Darkness positioned themselves as the guardians of the museum, protectors of a specific sound and skill set they see as sacred. Yungblud, by contrast, embodies the chaotic spirit of rebellion, arguing that true rock and roll dies the moment it starts policing its own borders. This feud isn't just two musicians sparring, it's the latest, loudest round in a civil war that has defined the genre for decades. And now, with the battle lines drawn in public, the entire community was forced to pick a side. The fallout was instant and digital. Social media transformed into a battlefield, mirroring the generational and ideological split between the artists themselves. In one corner, longtime rock fans rallied stood behind the Darkness's stance, echoing the call for real instrumentation, technical prowess, and a return to what they saw as rock's foundational values. They viewed Youngblood's style as a manufactured product of the TikTok era, lacking the raw, untampered grit they cherished. In the other corner, Youngblood's massive, young fan base mobilized, defending his artistry and championing his message of inclusivity. They fired back against what they labeled as elitist gatekeeping, arguing that their generation's expression, blended, digital, and emotionally direct, was just as valid. The noise was deafening, but notably, most other established musicians stayed conspicuously silent, avoiding the crossfire. This public reluctance to engage only highlighted how tense and divisive this argument had become. No one else wanted to get caught in the middle of a fight that questioned the very soul of their industry. So where does this leave us? This wasn't a spat that faded with the next news cycle. There was no public reconciliation, no collaborative track to bury the hatchet. What the Darkness and Youngblood created is a persistent, simmering Cold War. It's a philosophical standoff that lingers in the background of every festival lineup debate and every online argument about real music. Every time a traditional rock fan dismisses a genre-blending new artist as not rock, the ghost of this feud stirs. And every time an artist like Youngblood uses technology in their performance or challenges the genre's norms, the Darkness's critique echoes in the minds of purists. This clash cemented a divide. It forced artists, fans, and the industry itself to confront an uncomfortable, unresolved question about identity and evolution that continues to play out on stages and in comment sections to this day. This brings us to the ultimate, unavoidable question that this feud forces into the spotlight. A question with very real consequences for the sound you'll hear for years to come. What does rock music actually need to survive and stay relevant? Does it need guardians like the Darkness to fiercely protect its traditional sound, its technical rituals, and its historic identity? To insist that the guitar solo, the unprocessed vocal, the specific attitude are non-negotiable pillars that must be upheld at all costs? This argument says that without these fixed boundaries, the genre loses its meaning and dissolves into just noise. Or does rock's survival depend entirely on invaders like Youngblood, artists who are willing to storm the gates, tear up the old rulebook, and absorb everything from hip-hop beats to hyperpop glitches and social media's raw, confessional style? This side argues that rock's true spirit has always been rebellion and reinvention, that it dies the moment it becomes a preserved artifact, a costume to wear rather than a feeling to express, that to attract new generations it must speak their language, use their tools, and reflect their chaotic reality, even if it sounds unfamiliar to the old guard. This wasn't just a clash of egos or a debate over a single performance. This was a live, public dissection of rock music's ongoing identity crisis. The battle lines are now clearly drawn, and there is no easy truce in sight. The verdict on who was right is ultimately meaningless. What matters is the tension itself, a tension between preservation and evolution that will define every guitar riff, every headline, and every festival main stage for the foreseeable future. The fight between Youngblood and the Darkness didn't just create headlines, it held up a mirror to an entire genre at a crossroads, forcing everyone who cares about it to ask, are you looking backward or are you charging forward? And the answer to that question will write rock's next chapter. This is more than a feud. It's a symptom of something much bigger happening in music right now. The rules are being rewritten, the gates are being stormed, and the definition of a genre is being fought over in real time. The real story isn't about who won an argument online. It's about what you, as a listener, believe in. Do you value the sanctity of tradition or the electricity of revolution? The answer to that doesn't just live in a comment section. It's in the music you stream, the concerts you buy tickets for, and the new artists you champion. Because in the end, the audience holds the real power. Your attention is the vote that will decide rock's future. Will it be a museum piece or a living, breathing, and chaotic force? Let us know where you stand in the comments. And if you want to dive deeper into the artists, dramas, and sounds shaping music's most intense debates, make sure you're subscribed. Tap that notification bell so you never miss when the next battle for a genre's soul begins.